Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon in New York, where Bruno Mars is going to headline the Super Bowl halftime show. Tony, you excited to see him?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. I would certainly rather see Mars than Uranus.
Oh, that's so funny, except it isn't funny. It's like 2 whole weeks and then another butt joke. I mean, seriously?
That's actually funny.
It's
impossible to have a punchline in Uranus and not laugh.
Yeah,
it's
funny. If you're 11 years old, Bluto.
Get in touch with your inner child. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, David Stern's last day, NASCAR's new format, and Adam Vinatieri's plan to make some field goals worth 4 points. But we begin today with the reason we came all the way to New York City, the ESPN party tonight. It's true that we came for the party, but we're stuck talking about the Super Bowl or we don't get our plus ones. Actually, the Super Bowl is everything you could ask for. The 2 number 1 seeds, the number 1 offense against the number 1 defense. Wilbon, America demands to know who you got and why.
Seattle and defense. That's it. That's all I want to know, right? Seattle and defense. Look,
we can end the segment if you
like. No, this game to me is a toss-up. It's a game that's going to end 27-24. I don't think it's going to be one of those Super Bowl blowouts we saw so many of, like in the 80s and the early 90s. I don't think it's that. I think it's going to be a terrific game. I think there are probably going to be some surprises, things that even with all the analysis and analysts that some people aren't going to predict or just force or forecast in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to go, Tony, with defense, figuring out a way, and that includes a running game that go hand in hand, keeping Peyton Manning off the field a little bit. You know, maybe he'll pile up some yards, but maybe that won't matter ultimately. So I'm going to take Seattle in a close game.
You know, my instincts say to go with Seattle. When the number 1 defense comes into this game, historically, it's 12-3. I think weather helps defense, even if it's not terrible weather. And in Super Bowls before, as great a year as Peyton Manning has had, when Dan Marino set the all-time touchdown record, lost in a Super Bowl. When Tom Brady set the all-time touchdown record,
miraculously.
Right. I don't think it'll be the fluke like Tyree. But even when my instincts tell me that, I'm going to go with Denver because
your heart. You go with your heart because I want Peyton Manning to win too.
Yes.
I want to see Peyton Manning with another Super Bowl, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen right now.
He had a great year. He's the best player in the game. It started with 7 touchdown passes in the first game. It's not Richard Sherman.
You automatically just awarding best player to a quarterback, to an offensive player.
He's had a great season. Yes. And I think this. I don't think Seattle's going to score a lot of points, and I think that keeps Denver in the game.
In the defense score?
Do you know, historically, if Peyton Manning's team's in playoffs, if they get above 21 points, that's not a lot of points, right?
No.
They're 9-2 for Peyton Manning. And Seattle, in terms of scoring a lot of points, they've only gone over 35 times and not at all in the last 6 games.
You know what? They don't necessarily have to go that high. Again, if they can keep Peyton Manning off the field. So we look at the Seattle offense as well, which means Russell Wilson's going to have to make some yards with his legs.
My instincts are with Seattle, as are yours, but I'm going the other way.
Okay,
I'm going with Denver.
I get that. Something that is lost amid the Super Bowl madness is a significant basketball development. This was the final day in the reign of NBA Commissioner David Stern. He goes out sort of quietly with a town hall meeting at the league's Midtown offices, but that doesn't mean his tenure was quiet or uneventful, as you know, Tone. The league that once held its championship round, had it televised on tape delay, is now a global powerhouse. So, Tony, how does David Stern leave the league and his sport?
He leaves it on little cat's paws. He leaves it almost silently, and I don't get this. I mean, I don't understand why he would go out on Super Bowl Saturday, which is the event in America which crushes every other league, an event that's in his hometown. He's not a shy man. He likes the camera.
I do get it.
What, because it's 30 years to the day?
That, and there's something else. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it.
When has he not liked the spotlight?
He had it. He had it last year during the finals. I mean, I remember all the interviews then. I conducted one of them, sat there on ABC at halftime of a finals game in Miami and talked to David Stern. And he said after that, I'm not doing this again in February.
What, the All-Star game?
He doesn't want it. I agree with you. I think David Stern, I think somebody should have talked him into, and that would be people like Jerry Reinsdorf, people close to him, you know, even Mark Cuban, guys who have been big owners, important owners in the league. We don't have Jerry Buss anymore. They should have gone to David and said, we want you to take another bow in New Orleans performance All-Star weekend. But David doesn't want it, Tony, and that's why it's not happening.
You know, you look at the league, and I think the league's in better shape now than it was when he got it. But I don't think it's as good as it was with Bird and Magic and certainly Michael Jordan. I think
so
that was the glory.
92 was the high water mark?
With Jordan. But I will say this, that what I think Stern understood more than anybody else is to market to stars. He's not in a helmet league. He's not in a visor league. He's not in a cap league. His players can be seen. They can be appreciated. And he marketed to stars, and Bird and Magic and Jordan and now LeBron James. He let America see his product, and that was really smart.
David Stern had to preside over a more difficult situation than either football or baseball. Baseball with the great history it had for 100 years already.
He did not have momentum.
And then football coming in to be this national game, this domestic power with television pushing it. David Stern had to deal with a league that had issues, that was seen as, too drug-addled, too black. He had issues of race and culture that the other commissioners did not have to confront. He was unafraid to confront serious, important things, and there was no blueprint. And so I'm one of those people who applauds David Stern for that, Tony. And I think the league is so much better. Look, behind soccer is just behind soccer. That's it in terms of global reach.
And that's true globally. But in America, like everything else, it's way behind the NFL. It's behind college football. There's a Harris poll says it's behind baseball. That's behind NASCAR, which I can't accept.
What's bigger, the U.S. or the world? I know it comes as a surprise to you, who just wants to consider sort of the East Coast.
The world is bigger, but you know where you and I live?
You conceded that.
We live in America, and we watch TV in America.
I live in
America.
I live in the world.
Yeah.
With a satellite.
I forgot.
Global
You're an
satellite
incredible
dish.
Global citizen. Yeah. Unbelievable. And speaks one language.
Citizen of the world.
Stan Kroenke, the current owner of the current St. Louis Rams, has purchased 60 acres of land in Los Angeles. The Rams can get out of their lease in St. Louis after next season. If you add 1 and 1, you get the speculation that a stadium might be built on that Los Angeles land. Wilbon, would it make for a better NFL if the Rams left St. Louis and went back to their longtime home in Los Angeles?
We just talked about the NFL. How's it been doing the last 20 years?
Real good.
What has there not been in the last 20 years in Los Angeles?
Team in L.A. NFL team in L.A.
2 teams left L.A. at the end of, I think, the 1994 season. So from 95 to now, no professional football.
And big growth.
And the league has done nothing but explode. So the league is not going to be any better or worse off. I'm not even sure L.A. sports fans are going to be better off, because a lot of them, many of whom are transplants, just don't care about it the way they do in other cities, Tone, back in the Midwest or the East. I think this is going to happen. Kroenke is a huge player, an enormously rich man worth more than $5 billion.
Lives in L.A.
Lives in Malibu. And Tony has all sorts of property. He already
got a house in Malibu.
In Southern California. There are going to be 2 teams in Southern California soon. I'm not sure the league's better off.
I can't imagine. I don't think it's worse off that it doesn't have a team in Los Angeles, but I can't imagine that having a team in Los Angeles wouldn't help it. I just think incrementally it would help it. And Los Angeles, St. Louis is a lovely city. St. Louis is a baseball city. It's the best baseball city, the best baseball city. Los Angeles historically was a football city with USC and UCLA and then the Rams. It was a great football city. I find it hard to believe that it's been almost 20 years, and in the second biggest city in America, there's no NFL team.
Yeah. But I think we're going to go from 0 to 2. I think it's going to be St. Louis and the Chargers, the Rams and Chargers are going to wind up in Los Angeles. The interesting thing is this parcel of land Kroenke acquired, it's not sort of where now Los Angeles does business. I know it's where the Forum is still in Inglewood, but it's downtown is where it's happening in L.A.
I don't get.
What?
The NFL seems to want to expand to London. Yeah. To London and not L.A.? What? London? Really?
You know why? Because your boy wants to sell T-shirts there.
Well, you know why?
That's why.
Because he's following David Stern.
Yes,
he's thinking globally.
But except they don't want his product. Tony, we in the media have exhausted all options of Super Bowl chatter when people have to go to kickers for their stories. But Adam Vinatieri tells NFL.com that if it was up to him, field goals of 50 yards or longer would count for 4 points. This seems a little self-congratulatory and self-indulgent to me, but where are you on what would be a major and historic change to football?
My first thought was that I don't understand why anybody would mess with a scoring system. Like, it's been here 100 years. Yeah. It was 6 for a touchdown. It was 3 for a field goal. Now you're going to add a 4. Why would you add a 4? But then I thought about basketball. And I remember the ABA starting with a three-point shot. And it was resisted for a while. Clearly, it's been accepted all over, and for the better.
But
and for
the sport was only 25 years old.
Right? No.
25 years into pro basketball leagues in America, they changed.
But my sense of it is I don't want to be resistant to it necessarily. But here's what I would do. I think there ought to be a penalty because, 50-yard field goals are pretty common now. Two-thirds of them are made. So if you're going to take a 50, if you're going to maneuver on the field to get 4 points to take a 50, then I think if you miss that, I think not only the team shouldn't get it from where they kick, 10-yard penalty further back. Then
you're on the other side of the field. Then you're so you're
you're going for 4.
But you want to penalize the team for even taking it, or can they designate and say, no, let this be worth 3 so we don't suffer the penalty in the bad field position?
What do you got to throw out a challenge flag on that?
This is absurd.
No, I don't
absurd.
like that.
It's kickers trying to get some love.
Well,
we don't want to love you. Just play the game the way it is now, 3 points, because they're too easy.
It would help the indoor teams. It would help Denver. I think Vinatieri says this because he thinks kickers are being marginalized because they get rid of the extra point, right?
Marginalized? They're out there all the time attempting 62-yard kicks. How much more of the kickers do we need to see?
And penalize them if they go for 4 a little bit. NASCAR, throw them out?
Like Bieber, get them out.
Send them to Canada?
Teasing.
NASCAR has announced some modifications to its final series, the Chase. They will allow 16 drivers into the Chase, up from 12. And they will start eliminating drivers as the Chase goes along. So that in the final race, there will be only 4 drivers eligible to win the Chase. The highest finisher of those 4 in that race will win the championship. Wilbon, they're trying to create more drama in their last race. What do you think of this?
I applaud that.
So you hate 4 points, but you like this.
This is 2 years old. It's not 90 years old like the NFL. Okay, the Chase is a minute and a half old.
You like this.
Jimmy Johnson, by the way, wouldn't have won last year had this rule been in place.
Really, the Dallas Cowboys would have made the playoffs if the 4-point rule was in place.
I know. Let's stay on NASCAR for a second. I liked it when I thought erroneously and briefly there was only going to be 4 cars on the track.
Yeah, but there's 40
that was like, whoa, it's like 2-on-2 in hockey for overtime.
Like
that would have been great.
I like that.
That's not going to be the case, but I'm okay with this, Tony. I understand the desire to have more drama. They're sort of morphing something that, again, is a minute and a half old. How many years has it been a Chase? 8, 9? Not that long.
I think it's a nice try. It doesn't work for me. I'm going to tell you what. It's a satisfying conclusion in baseball when there's a World Series winner, a satisfying winner in the NBA when the finals are over and Super Bowl is crowned. This doesn't get an ultimate winner. If you go out in that last race, you only have to beat 3 other cars. You could finish 20th, and you could win the entire Chase. To me, this is why I hate the FedEx Cup.
Right.
Because you can win the big prize. And you didn't have to win any of the races.
That's right, any of them.
Any of the races. And plus, if there's 4 people and there's 43 starters, and your teammate runs somebody else into the wall to get him out of contention, what do you do?
Happens? That's why you only want 4 cars out there.
I think 4 cars, 50 miles, go. Big race.
Pretty good.
50 miles.
Did you propose this?
I'm doing it now. That's my proposition. Let's take a break. But coming up, will you board Richard Sherman pick off Peyton Manning on Sunday?
Question. Plus, yards for Marshawn Lynch and tears for Knowshon Moreno. Knowshon. Under, over, and more Shawns are next.
The game is over under. The winner grew up in New York. And the host is Tony Reali.
Reali grew up on Staten Island. That's
New York. So you think there's a home field advantage here? We'll see about that. He was the story of the conference championship. Over under 0.5 interceptions for Richard Sherman Sunday.
They led the league this year. He had 8, but he hadn't had an interception, I think, in the last 3 games. Everybody thinks he made the interception to get them to the Super Bowl, but he made the tip.
Right.
He's really great. If I know that, I think Peyton Manning probably knows that too. Peyton Manning will control how many times he throws at him. Peyton Manning threw this year 738 passes, including the playoffs. He's had 11 interceptions. I'm going to go under. I don't think he'll get one.
I'm going to go over just on the possibility of a fluke. He can get one tipped by somebody else. He can get the ball deflected off the hands of a Broncos, almost a Colts receiver, Broncos receiver. So there are plenty of ways he can get one in the end zone at the end of the half when Peyton's throwing a Hail Mary.
He can.
So the chances of Richard Sherman, who's a ball hawk, who's around the ball, getting an interception are pretty good. I'm going to say over.
Next.
But, of course, he doesn't get credit for one if he tips one to somebody else like he did last game. All right, Peyton Manning over under 300 yards passing.
History presents a counterintuitive circumstance for me on this. I assume that if Manning goes under 300 because they're a passing team, they're going to lose. But in the Super Bowl that he won, he went under 300 yards. And the Super Bowl that they lost, he went over 300 yards. In the playoff games this year, he's gone under and over, and he's won them both. So I think it's under. I mean, Seattle's defense is great. They don't even allow 200 a game. I don't think this eliminates Denver, but I think it's under.
Yeah, I don't know that it will tell you the story of the game.
Right.
I'm going to go over for this reason. Over 300 yards. I've said already I'm picking Seattle to win the game. I'm expecting Denver, therefore, to be behind.
And
I think then he's going to have to throw the ball. I think Peyton could throw for 330, 350. It doesn't necessarily mean that Denver's going to. I think Peyton's going to be fine, have a fine day against a good defense. I'm just not picking him to win.
Next.
Marshawn Lynch over under 64 yards rushing.
We use 64 because that's all the Broncos allowed New England. All their rushers. They had LeGarrette Blount 6 yards, 5 carries. If Denver does that to Lynch, Denver wins the game.
Probably.
I'm not sure they can do that, okay? Because this year, here's what we know about Lynch. He doesn't like to be interviewed, and he goes over 64. He's going over 64 yards 13 times in 18 games this season. Now, I think that you could hold Marshawn Lynch to about 80 and still win the game, but I'm going to say he goes over 64.
Yeah, I'm going to say he goes over 64 as well, Tony. First of all, I just think that Seattle understands that the best way to play defense against Peyton Manning is to not have him on the field.
That's right.
And so it doesn't mean you have to have a great average. It means you know you're going to punt sometimes because you're not going to pick up some third and medium distances, and you may run the ball anyway. But you need Peyton on the sideline. You have to run the ball. His average could be, 2.8 a carry. No. It could be 3 or under, but I think it's going to be over 64 yards.
All right. Last one. There's some real action on this one. So over under 1 tier for Knowshon Moreno during the national anthem.
The first time we saw Knowshon Moreno during the national anthem, he let loose a virtual river of tears. I mean, honestly, I've never seen a volume of water like that. He's clearly an emotional guy. He's a Jersey guy. He still has the Jersey State touchdown record for high schools. The national anthem, though, it's going to be sung by an opera singer, Renee Fleming. I watched a little of her today on YouTube. I started to cry. This guy is going to cry like Pagliacci. I'm going way over. Way over.
I know, it just struck me. I remember seeing that at the time.
Wasn't that weird?
I don't think they were tears. I think it was like maybe he was putting drops in his eyes, like some capsules.
He said they were tears.
He said they were tears?
He's emotional.
Okay, I mean, but I think your emotions are at the game. I think you're not really hearing the anthem. I think you are focused and directed on what's about to happen. I'm going to go under.
I'm going way over.
No tears.
Way over. That's it. Over-under is over. Time for a break, but on the way, the 10-year anniversary of Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunction.
That's a halftime show there, big boy.
Are we showing that?
And a tribute to the 125-pound woman who ate 363 wangs, as we say. Wangs.
Did we show that, Janet Jackson?
Well, the whole nation saw it.
Did we show it again?
I hope.
I don't care about you. Happy time, people. Happy 33rd birthday, Justin Timberlake. Not only is Timberlake an accomplished actor, singer, and dancer, but his sports connection is that 10 years ago tomorrow, it was Timberlake who caused the infamous Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. Wilbon, do you think anything extraordinary will happen during Bruno Mars's halftime performance?
Yeah, I'm going to leave the house. I'm going to leave the sofa. That's what's going to happen. That wardrobe malfunction is the greatest halftime moment in Super Bowl history, bar none.
Happy anniversary, John Elway. On this day 15 years ago, you played your last NFL game, leading the Broncos to their second consecutive Super Bowl win. Everyone says Elway's exit is the best ever, so if Peyton Manning wins, many will expect him to go out in the same fashion. I think he'll play on. What do you think, Mike?
I don't know. He's got that exam to check on his neck. I hope he's healthy, but Jerome Bettis went out that way. Bill Russell, very few people, though, right?
Very few. Happy trails to the All-Star game for Lance Stevenson, Kyle Lowry, Anthony Davis, and Goran Dragic. Those seem to be the 4 snubs that are generating the most chatter. The one I feel worst for is Dragic, because in his contract, he would receive a $1 million bonus from making the team.
He may still get it. Chris Paul and Kobe are hurt. I don't expect Kobe to play. And if Chris Paul doesn't, maybe you look at Anthony Davis and Dragic. I'm just saying. I don't think anybody got snubbed. I wouldn't replace any of the guys who were voted in or named by the coaches.
Time to find out what we messed up. Reali.
Couple things to clean up on NASCAR, or as you call it, Tone, Nascar. 10 years of the chase. This is 11. And you said Jimmy Johnson wouldn't have won this year under the current rule system. You know who would have won last year, Wilbon?
Who?
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Dale Jr.
So don't worry about me, fellas. I'll get to New York on my own. Just holding down the fort here in D.C. for the time being.
We'll see you at the party. Big finish. Here we go. Kyrie Irving said, quote, "I'm in Cleveland. I enjoy myself," unquote. Translation?
I'll be taking my talents to a warmer city with a better team soon. Defending champ Louisville fell to 0-4 this season against ranked opponents. Cause for concern.
Not unless you play ranked opponents.
We got to play something in March.
The Jazz will raise a Jerry Sloan banner tonight. Do you think he will cry?
Jerry Sloan's the toughest guy I ever met. No. He'll be happy. No.
Really?
No crying. No tears. 5'7", 125-pound woman ate a record 363 chicken wings at Wing Bowl 22, whatever the hell that is. You impressed?
That's a lot of chicken wings. I am wondering, what did she weigh when she stopped eating those chicken wings? Have you eaten that many in your whole life?
My whole life, no.
Last one, your boy Kevin Durant.
KD.
Going for his 13th 30-point game in a row. Do you think he's going to get it?
I know Brooklyn's hot, but he's going to get it. I'm like 38, Tone. Pencil me in for 38.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. And I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great Super Bowl.